So you don't need sugar. And there's nothing not a drug about sugar. It is 100% a drug.
It's a drug. It's addictive.
And it's even, it's so addictive, they even spike it in what we would consider not sugary foods because our brain still perceives it. We still get that heroin flash.
Right.
And we're in.
Yep.
And so, but finding, so sugar, there's nothing not a drug about sugar. That's just what I wanted to say. So when you're eating it, you're 150 pounds per American per year. It's pretty nasty stuff.
Yeah. And I don't eat any of it, so somebody's getting my share.
It's me.
There you go.
Hello, and welcome to Legends of Longevity with me, Joseph Ence. I'm your host, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this journey towards living a longer, stronger, and more vibrant life. The podcast is about uncovering the secrets to longevity, things your doctor does not tell you, whether it's groundbreaking advancements in heart health, lifestyle tips to keep you thriving, or inspired stories of people who've defied the odds. Together, we'll explore the tools, techniques, and mindset shifts that can help you unlock your fullest potential. Whether you're here to learn how to enhance your well-being, support your loved ones, or just stay ahead of the curve in health and wellness, you're in the right place. Let's empower each other to not only live longer, but live stronger.
Today, Dr. Rita Marie and I are talking about longevity, of course, on the podcast Legends of Longevity. And she is big into nutrition, and we've been trying to find out the best ways to eat your way to better health. We'll probably get into the blue zones and why that disappeared from public literature, and what's the state of it in nutrition. So welcome, Dr. Rita Marie. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me here.
Very cool. So tell me about your journey, how you came to where you are, because you're a pretty well-respected nutritionist, doctor.
Well, doctor, nutritionist, whatever you want to call me, but I came through it through personal health problems myself many years ago, decades ago, and wasn't getting any help from traditional, I won't even call it traditional because it doesn't deserve that, conventional medicine, conventional approaches to medicine, and the drugs and the procedures and whatnot. And I was in my mid-20s and feeling like crap, and I just finally opened up my eyes and said, I wonder if it's my diet. And it was back in the 1980s when people didn't ask questions like that. And,
when they still deep fried in tallow.
Yeah, they still do now. So, I mean, go figure. We've made a lot of progress since then. We've really stepped a lot backwards since then. So you would think that with all the knowledge and all the research and all the people in the online space and all that, we would have come a lot further. Like in particular, metabolic health is one of my passions, and we're worse off now than we ever were, really. So, but I had challenges, and I wasn't getting help with conventional medicine, and I asked questions. Could it be my diet? What could be going on? Are the M&Ms and the Cheetos and the ice cream I eat a lot of having any effect on my health? And voila. Those questions triggered answers, and I found ways to get to restore my health. And then when I discovered that I could restore my health, I figured there's a lot of other people out there that could too. They may not be the same like science mind. I mean, always was an inquisitive, problem-solving mind, and it took a lot for me to get myself to the point where I could understand what was going on and help myself. So I decided to leave my job in the computer field and go back to school and do what I'm doing now eventually.
So wow, great story. I don't know where to start because what do you think it was? Was it the gut biome? Was it the metabolic, the sugar, too much insulin? What do you think knocked you out?
Toxic exposure, lack of real good food growing up, stressful environment, microbiome imbalances, all the antibiotics and stuff I got fed when I was a kid, all the sugar and Kool-Aid and other kinds of lovely food that I ate growing up, and it all just was the perfect storm for my body to just fall apart and say, you can't keep doing this, you got to do something different.
Yeah, I was thinking of a sugar rant on the way in here, and sugar, or just please agree or disagree, tell me if I'm wrong, it is not, sugar and carbs are not necessary to eat, right? You can get plenty of nutrition from proteins and fish oils and vegetables, right? So you don't need sugar. And there's nothing not a drug about sugar. It is 100% a drug.
It's a drug. It's addictive.
And it's even, it's so addictive, they even spike it in what we would consider not sugary foods because our brain still perceives it. We still get that heroin flash.
Right.
And we're in.
Yep.
And so, but finding, so sugar, there's nothing not a drug about sugar. That's just what I wanted to say. So when you're eating it, you're 150 pounds per American per year. It's pretty nasty stuff.
Yeah. And I don't eat any of it, so somebody's getting my share.
It's me.
There you go.
No, I was on a journey too where I'm like, wow, I'm 85 pounds over my weight that I got for myself. What is it? And I'm like, I'm eating a popsicle, I'm chewing bubble gum, I'm drinking. So I'm like, I got to cut out sugar. It took me months to figure out that sugar is in nearly everything.
Everything. Yeah.
Right?
In fact, they pay scientists to figure out the bliss point of, ketchup or salami or whatever else they're trying to get taquitos. Yeah. You can throw all
this is
kinds
what
of,
we're applying science towards. It's taquitos.
It's sad because we know what we know. We know so much. Yet people are so addicted to their food substances that they're willing to trade their health for that 30 seconds on the tongue of bliss, whatever it might be. And I was the biggest sugar addict going. I was big time sugar addict. I used to eat like a pint of ice cream at a time and want more, and that wasn't enough. So, no, I know what it is. I know what it feels like, but I also know what it feels like to be on the other side of it. And I know what it feels like to not be addicted. And I know what it feels like to feel good all the time, and not feel like crap when I was in my 20s.
All right. So by the time patients make it to you, because you're a bit of a specialist, what are they like? Are they like, I'm ready to surrender to no sugar?
Not necessarily. I wish it would make my job much easier. They're knowledgeable. A lot of people, when they come to see us or come into our programs or whatever, they've been around the block a few times. They know what they know. They don't necessarily do what they know they should be doing. Right?
Yeah.
But there's also personalization, and everybody's, there's no one size fits all. That's the thing that I try to fight against all the time. Like, you go on the internet and you click on a reel and it's just like, eat this, whatever, buy this particular supplement and just eat this before you eat your junk and you'll be fine. But there's no one size fits all. It's personal. And, genetics is part of it. Former food habits is part of it. Gut microbiome is part of it. Mental state, the traumas and tribulations you've gone through in your life, parasympathetic versus sympathetic dominance in the nervous system. I mean, there's all kinds of things that play in. And I think to be successful, you need to be customizing what you're doing to you. It's not just one size fits all. Don't eat sugar anymore in your life, it's going to be good. I wish it was that easy, but it's not. It really isn't.
Yeah, I had to make a big choice with a soda, and I had to recalibrate my taste buds, and it took me a while. That herbal tea is my thing now, with a little bit of honey or no sugar, and I've decided I'm in control of this body. This is what I like.
Yeah.
And that made a big difference. I'm not drinking 2,000 calories a day anymore. It made a big difference.
It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, 85 pounds.
85 pounds is huge. But you have to decide, right? We all get to make decisions all day long. We get choices all day long. As always, if we were to look at how many of those decision diamonds, we're coming across every day, it's huge. It's huge. Yeah. And it can be overwhelming to the brain to have to constantly make choices. So we have to learn, and we have to think about what is in our highest and best good. What do we want most? And what I want most is not a chocolate candy bar or a Mars bar or ice cream. What I want most is to just feel good all the time. To not have to turn down invitations to do fun things because I don't feel good, because my joints hurt, because I have a headache, because whatever. And I think that when people recognize that we have choices and the choices affect your health, that's when they're empowered to make the right decisions about themselves.
Do you ever hear about the marshmallow test in kids? It was they got these kids and they gave them a test. Here, kid, if you don't eat this marshmallow, I'll give you another one. And like only a certain amount of the kids were able to avoid the marshmallow while the adult left the room. That was the study. Adult came back. Did you eat the marshmallow? Okay, now you get two. Like, but the kids who were able to avoid the marshmallow for the 2 minutes that they really wanted to eat, they did so much better in long-term life. And then going further into that, why were those kids? They were taught that there is a trade-off, and they were taught how not. A lot of them just didn't look at the marshmallow. They got it out of sight, got it out of mind. Mm-hmm. But it's what you were saying, that having the discipline to know your trade-offs and be in tune with your body, that, maybe I could tolerate some sugar today, I'm on vacation, but usually in my everyday life, or some people just cut it out completely, and that's the discipline they got.
Well,
but
a lot of times
half
it's
measures
not
don't usually work.
discipline, right? It's not because cutting it out completely works because of lack of discipline. Because it's easier to say no 100% than to meter your intake. I couldn't do it. If I were to say, oh, you're allowed to have this much sugar every day, I wouldn't have the self-control to be able to keep that to that. It's either all or nothing for me.
Wow.
And a lot of folks, it's like that. And I released a video about the addictive powers of sugar and what actually sugar addiction means and what it does to the brain and all the various parts of the brain. And
it really does wire the brain.
It does rewire the brain. And
it's a painful process to unrewire the brain, isn't it?
It's very painful. But it's well worth it, having lived to tell the difference. For the last 40 years.
You've got the energy. You get plenty of sun. You're in Florida, is that right?
Now I'm actually right now I'm in Costa Rica. I live in
Double
Texas,
dog.
but yeah, I'm here for the winter because I hate winter.
I like you. Costa Rica living.
Yeah.
All right. So medicine is changing right now. People are getting wise to the 15-minute appointments, and you're just going to get a prescription, and the doctor has to put, because that's all they can do in 15 minutes. And I'm sorry that their boss is actually telling them, you gotta see a patient, you gotta move along.
Oh, yeah.
But healers actually do want to sit and talk with you and understand you and help you heal, like be the best version of yourself.
Absolutely.
It's their calling to the core. So if your doctor's a healer, I think you won. So having said that, how do you think medicine's going to evolve with the new administration, people not trusting Medicare, the old system? How do you think it'll shake out?
How do I want it to shake out, or how do I think it'll shake out? If I had my druthers, and this is what I do I teach medical practitioners, nurses, everybody, anybody that's in the medical practitioner practice that wants to use alternatives. And I say that loosely because it's really not alternatives. The alternatives are what medicine really is.
There's a historical basis behind what you're saying, and I totally agree that.
Yeah, it's like we need to understand that the body doesn't go out of balance and have symptoms because it's just, it's playing bad girl, bad boy today. It just wants to. No, there's specific balance in the body that needs to happen. The biochemical balance, the physiologic balance, the neurochemical balance, all of this stuff. And when we get in the way of the natural healing capacity of the body by feeding it sugar, feeding it all kinds of pesticides and herbicides and things that we can't pronounce, vaccinating, giving drugs, all of this stuff gets in the way of our natural healing capacity. And the future of medicine is getting out of the way. Identifying what things are out of balance in the body. Why are they out of balance? How do we put them back in balance? And then how do we restore the body's natural healing ability? And I've seen it. I've been doing this for 35 years. And it works. This is how people get well. And so the future of medicine, how do I see? I see that we are at a precipice here where people are becoming aware that there's something broken here and that it needs fixing. I wish I believed 100% that what was going, the direction we're going is going to fix it. But I don't, because big business is at work.
There's a lot of momentum.
Money is at work. And for everybody to wake up tomorrow and say, oh, I know what I need to do to be healthy. I know what I need to give up. I know what I need to start to do. Big business would be out of business. Be done. Nobody's going to go out and buy Coca-Cola anymore. Nobody's going to smoke cigarettes anymore. Nobody's going to do all of these things that are hurting our health. People will just make the decisions not to do it. So the lobbyists are all these companies, the food companies, the drug companies, the chemical companies, Monsanto, et cetera, these are all what's in control of our medical system and the health care that people get, their education. So what we need to do, something needs to shake that up. Somebody needs to be willing to shake that up and risk the wrath of all these businesses.
To the scale of what? Like no lobbyists in Washington, out of the FDA, like our food supply just needs to be from seed to table.
It needs to be real, right?
Real.
It needs to be real food from the environment, and without all the additives and the preservatives and the pesticides to keep it from...
Oh, the pesticides. Oh my gosh. Why are we given the fruit that soaks up the most pesticides?
It's money. It's all money.
You know, in the old days, it used to be the farmer. It was shameful for the farmer to be wealthy, and it was shameful for the grocer to be wealthy. Like, doing okay, but nobody wanted to think that they were getting gouged by the guys that... And now with the the business, I got a business degree. I know how pernicious and evil those guys are. And they don't think it's them. They're like, if I don't do it, somebody else will.
Yes.
If I don't sell these cigarettes, somebody else will. And yeah, I totally agree. So to cut this out, it would take a propaganda campaign of telling people where to get good food, like real, sincere good food.
Real, yeah.
It would take shutting up the lobbyists, the resistance.
And the
Wow.
lies are, and social media.
Yeah.
Everybody and their brother is out there saying something, not because they care about your health, but because they care about their bottom line.
One of my favorite movies is from the 1980s, James Gardner, Barbarian at the Gates. It was when RJR Tobacco was buying, the tobacco companies were buying the food companies. And this movie was just particularly about the money of it. But we know that the science of tobacco and gambling has been applied to food sciences because those companies bought the food businesses. And since then, we've gotten these really well-researched foods like taquitos and Doritos, which light up those brain parts and get these
Exactly.
kids addicted.
The bliss factor. There's literally scientists who are paid to figure out the exact amount of sugar, fat, salt in a food that lights up all the centers, that makes it addictive without it going over the edge of being like, ooh, that's too much. And they're literally paid to do this.
And they
so-
get damn good at it, right?
They get very good at it. And you think about it, watch kids as they eat their candies and their brains light up and all that color, the artificial colors, and it's
Like
adults too.
their marketing is bet you can't eat just once because they know
That's
the
it,
science
exactly.
is
They
I
know.
know.
Yeah. And you can't. It's like as soon as you touch one, like, oh, just a little bit more. Oh, just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right? And what we don't realize, and what there is not educated, kids are not educated about how it's affecting them, how it's affecting their brains, how it's affecting their health, how it's affecting their sex life, right? That's
my
really
gosh.
scary what's happening.
Yeah, let's dig into that as professionals for a second. Testosterone in the male population is like, it's embarrassing. And on the internet, I'm noticing people look like, hey, here's a picture of my dad when he was 18. Why does he look so much more macho than I do? Because your testosterone's a tenth of what his was.
Exactly.
And, it's kind of by design because you'd have to... I'm not saying I'm a conspiracy theorist, but it is a fact that men with low testosterone make much more submissive decisions. They go with the flow a lot more. They don't resist as much. So if you were to think that there was a conspiracy to subjugate a country, this would be one of the tools they'd use, wouldn't it be?
Very effective tool.
Okay, let me ask you this one because I have my opinions, but I see America and the beach in 1970 and everybody looked one way, and I see a picture of America at the beach now and we look another way. Why?
But what we're just talking about, it's the foods, the additives in the foods, the chemicals in the foods, the sex disrupting, endocrine disrupting chemicals that are in our foods and our water. And we're just, there's no control. People value their taste buds over their health and how they look.
Yeah, that sense did get reprioritized quite a bit, didn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think America's bigger because of in the 1990s, we switched out the seed oils from tallow to seed, like McDonald's. Malcolm Gladwell writes about this a little bit. And I just think it's fascinating that the seed oils in the mice studies reduce the testosterone 40% in the mouse population. And the human studies are not very forthcoming, crazy enough.
Yeah.
But that tracks with the American population.
So when we talk about seed oils, I think we have to be really careful what we portray, because people hear seed oils. Oh, so sunflower seeds must be bad for me, and sesame seeds must be bad for me, and all this. It's the processing of those oils. It's extracting the oils from a perfectly good food via hexane and all kinds of solvents, and then putting it through all these. Have you ever watched one of those videos about how the seed oils are processed? It's disgusting, right? And then we put that in our bodies. So there's nothing inherently bad about sesame seed oil. What's wrong is the processing and all the chemicalization that happens as we do that. Now, eating oil is not a good thing to do anyway. There's no inherent value to the human population. There's good value in eating sesame seeds. There's good value in eating sunflower seeds. But, just pulling the oil out and eating the oil, it's just calories. It's just calories.
Yeah. Very little nutrition.
And a lot of it's omega-6, which is inflammatory.
Yeah. Like people, because there's different oils, and if you're careful about it, I think you're going to be good. But like the worst is the cottonseed oil. And cottonseed was that was garbage years ago because they just threw it away after they cleaned it out of the cotton. But there was so much of it, they thought we got to do something with it. And the way they figured out how to process that stuff is wicked.
Yeah.
The solvents, you weren't kidding. Like it's ruthless. And it was so efficient that was able to be used as an engine lubricant in World War II, like inside the motor. And at some point we decided to eat it, I guess. Probably on a dare. Crazy. All right, how about... Go ahead. I want to hear what you were going to say.
It's an industrial waste. So why do we want an industrial waste? Why don't we find a use for an industrial waste? Fluoride is another one. Yes, exactly. Well, there must be something we can do with this. Why should we throw it away? Why don't we charge people for it?
Yeah, can we talk about fluoride for a second? Just because I don't think most people know that it came out, like official. It makes kids, their IQ 10 points less than their mother's. And it's been in the water supply in America, and several counties have already gotten rid of it. But it's been in our water forever. It's supposed to help our teeth, but I'm not seeing it on the teeth part.
The thing is, it can cause thickening. They want to say strengthening, like cavity prevention. But in reality, it doesn't really do that. It really doesn't do that. Did you ever hear of fluorosis of the teeth? Just deposits on the teeth? It just isn't what it's made out to be. But it was an industrial waste. And it's like, why don't we figure out what to do with this? And they figured out, look, it can prevent cavities. I don't know I don't even know the science or the story behind how it became such a popular thing. But that happens with a lot of things. We don't want to throw it away. What can we do with it?
Yeah. I suspect there was a particularly talented salesman at work there. Yeah. Didn't want to pay the fees to get it.
To get it dumped.
Wasted.
As a toxic product.
Yeah. Okay. I'm digging where we're going. So fluoride is like recently came out that it was really bad. In our whole childhood, we were told to take it, eat it. Our dentist put trays in our mouth, and our world would be 10 points better if we didn't do that, which is sad.
Fluoride is a halide. It's in the same family as iodine. So it interferes, like chlorine, is the same family as chlorine and iodine. And iodine is an essential nutrient for the thyroid gland, for the breasts, for uterine tissue.
So why is the iodine good and the fluoride bad? Like, because iodine increases IQ in 10 points in kids.
Because it's an essential nutrient. Iodine is the core of thyroid hormone. We need iodine to make thyroid hormone. If we don't have enough iodine, we don't make thyroid hormone, which shuts down our metabolism and creates all kinds of problems. And right now we have an epidemic of thyroid conditions in our world.
Yeah, why do you think that is? Is that the vaccines or the food or the hormone interrupters?
It's a combination. I think it's the hormone disruptors. I think that there's so many chlorine in the water. Like we put chlorine in the water to protect us from bacteria and all. So we have chlorine in the water that interferes with iodine uptake. We have the fluoride in the water. We have bromine and a lot of different things as a preservative. So we're just not, we're not allowing the iodine to be present and utilized because we're interfering with it.
Yeah.
They inhibit each other. They inhibit each other.
And people are like, how much plastic and interrupters and making frogs gay chemicals are there in our food?
Countless.
All right. Your food supply. Where do you source? What do you like to, how do you feel confident in your food supply?
I don't feel 100% confident in my food supply because we live in a toxic world, but I buy organic as much as I can. I eat fresh food. I don't eat processed food. I don't eat food from packages. I eat real food. And I focus on freshness. I focus on lots and lots of veggies, fruits, nuts, seeds, things that are not chemicalized, but you can't avoid it. You can't just eat organic food. It's impossible in this world unless you live off somewhere in the boonies. And even a lot of the remote parts of the world are being inundated with fumes and whatnot. But you just do the best you can, right? You just avoid things that come in packages. Avoid things that have long ingredient lists. Eat real food. Make your meals at home.
4 ingredients or less food?
4 ingredients or less? Wow. How about 1 ingredient or less? I mean, seriously. Broccoli, cauliflower, oregano, basil.
Right? Like there's a whole universe to explore in food. And I feel like it's been not kept from us. Like, since I went to tea or herbal tea, I now have a tea bar and my house smells nice because I have these selections. I'm kind of figuring out what I want to eat in the morning or at night. Some have caffeine and tune me up a little. Some will slow me down. Like, that's a beautiful thing to add to your life, some variety.
Yes. Yeah.
And dried fruit was another big one for me too. Like fruit and nuts, those are usually pretty good. They're as natural as I can find. But sourcing your food is like, it takes special effort and time and attention.
Yeah, and more stores are sourcing organic ingredients. You don't have to just go to Whole Foods and, dump your whole paycheck there. There are ways. There's farmers markets. Like here, we're in Costa Rica for a few months, and every Thursday there's the farmers market. So we go to the farmers market. We walk 2 miles to get to the farmers market, buy a ton of food, pack it into the backpacks, and then walk back 2 miles carrying the fresh food.
The farmers market filled a real social role that I didn't think about because I've lived in South America and I've been in places where they have the market every day. And at the end of the day, they throw their vegetables away and they just put it in the middle of the street, and the poor, the elderly, they could pick through it, and everybody felt great about it, right? Like, yeah. We all win. People didn't mind tipping the grocer because that was his role in society. And now with these big box corporations, that is not what it used to be. And we've all adjusted, but I think the world was a little better when people offered and didn't have to beg or didn't have to, like, it was, I don't know, community based, I guess. And there was no shame in it. Just everybody's getting by. It's rough out there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Fascinating. I had another thought I wanted to share. Oh, the old ways were a way for a reason. Patient that I came in for a scan today, and I do the carotid ultrasound. I look for plaque, and it's really fun because patients are very open with me, and they'll tell me kind of their observations. And this guy came up over from Park City, real studious looking dude, and we were talking about how he got a glucose monitor on his arm. And he said something like, I like the Wendy's number 6 meal. I don't even know what that is, but I know it's a meal he likes. And he goes, if I eat the fries on my way to work, my blood sugar spikes like crazy. But if I eat the salad or something else first, it totally blunts it. And like a glucose monitor is such a handy tool for people to figure out how they're getting poisoned and why.
Yep. Totally.
Yeah, what are
I'm a big fan of those.
So anyways, the old ways of like eating super salad before your meal and eating your dessert last if you eat dessert, like there's a reason for that. So I'm now paying real careful attention to the old protocols or the old ways because there was a reason. There was a reason for most of their decisions.
Yep. And eat your veggies first, okay? So you're eating the foods that are the most nutritious, that have the most value from a standpoint of nutrients and water and fiber and all that. And by the time, if you do say, okay, I'm going to do the dessert last, I'm going to have the big salad, I'm going to have the veggies, by the time you get there, you can't eat as much. But if you start with those hyper palatable foods at the beginning, you don't stop, right?
Don't start with the chips. Don't start.
They put the big bowl of bread or chips or whatever on the table, like you go to a Mexican restaurant and it's like big thing of chips. No, don't start there. So whenever I go to a restaurant like that, can I have a big bowl of veggies instead? I want the guacamole and I want a dip, but I don't want the chips. I want to dip celery sticks or cucumbers or something like that. And then it naturally fills you up. It loads you up with nutrition and water and fiber, so you don't eat as much of the other junk. So it's really
You said something real profound earlier about eating to your purpose. And yeah, you can eat for fun, you can eat for joy, but if I'm eating to feel better, if I'm considering this as my medicine, I'm going to be much more deliberate about what I eat.
What do you eat?
I really like how you said that. And now you're kind of reiterating, like, yeah, be deliberate about your food because it comes together that way. Yeah,
And
thank
it
you.
doesn't mean you have to deprive yourself of taste. Like seriously, if you're in a restaurant and you have a big bowl of guacamole and you have chips, the guacamole has the flavor. In my opinion, humble opinion, the guacamole is where the action is. So why not, just eat it with the celery sticks and jicama and cucumbers and other things like that and enhance the nutritional value.
Yeah. What other foods? This is the point I wanted to bring up, is nutrition less in our food. An apple today has so much less nutrition than an apple from 50 years ago. Is there anything to that?
I think there is some to it because we are diluting the soils and there's pesticides and we're making them grow bigger without really increasing the nutritional value. I think it might be overstated. I mean, it's not like you have an apple and it has like 1/10 of the nutrition that an apple had 50 years ago. I don't think it's that extreme. But if you're eating a food and it's grown naturally without the addition of all these growth enhancers and pesticides and herbicides and everything else, it's going to have more nutritional value, sure. I mean, they've done the studies. They've just compared the organic veggie to the non-organic. It's not humongous. It's not like, oh, don't eat that because it's a waste. You're still getting nutritional value. It's going to be better than eating an M&M. But
Yeah, I believe you. I just want to read a book on it because when I found out they can grow a chicken in like 33 days from chick to adulthood, and it used to take months, more than a month, back in the day, like there has to be a trade-off there.
there's definitely a trade-off.
And when I was a kid, the apples were very fibrous and not so sweet. And now that I'm a grown-up, they're like big candy apples. They're like, they're cotton candy. They're just so full.
They
And
hybridize them to do that.
yeah, these are not Johnny Appleseed apples.
No,
Huh.
no.
What are other good tips that you like sharing with your patients?
Oh boy, there's so many. I think it's really important for people to eat for blood sugar balance, because when we eat foods that raise our blood sugars, it raises our insulin levels. Insulin is a hormone that promotes fat storage. And if we're trying to maintain weight, you don't want to be eating something that's going to inhibit the breakdown of fat and enhance the storage of fat. We want to eat things that are going to make us feel full, that are going to satisfy our nutritional needs, but satisfy the taste buds as well. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is, oh, I can't eat celery and carrot sticks all day, I'd be bored. No, you don't have to. There are ways to take real wholesome ingredients and put them together in ways that you find palatable, that you've been used to eating. I grew up Italian. I love pizza. Will I eat a regular pizza from a pizza place? No, I would never let that stuff touch my body. But what I can do is I can make a cauliflower crust pizza and make a cheese out of macadamia nuts and pine nuts and whatever else, and make a sauce that's made with real tomatoes and basil and things like that. And it tastes phenomenal. I can still eat desserts. I just don't eat it with the commercially laden, the sugars and the additives. I can do it with real food. And people don't realize that.
No, they think that if they got to eat what they see in pictures. They can't make up new food. They can't.
Yeah.
No, they're pretty good that way. They're good customers. You know, I had to get rid of hard candy because I like hard candy, and I always carry like Pez with me because I like sharing with little kids. And there's some tricks you can do with Pez, like I flick it and it makes a real satisfying buzz. But when I knew I had to get rid of sugar, I'm like, I got to replace it with something. So I like black licorice, so I tried that, but that had too much sugar. So then I went to star anise, and I now get the dried, and I got a little flavor in my mouth, and it's good. And then I moved on to some others, and bergamot. You can get candied bergamot that I think is a reasonable trade-off. And, you know, getting used to eating garlic in my house, like putting a clove in the oven and eating that and making that my, you know, there's just such a big world to explore of good, healthy food.
It's huge. And we forget how good the food tastes because we're so used to adulterating it that we forget what it really tastes like. And when you sit down with real food and you compare things, I remember when I was first changing my diet, and I was like, okay, this is a mango, and this is a whatever, and this is M&Ms, and I'm drawn to the M&Ms. I want more of the M&Ms, but I sat down with okay, let's taste it, let's chew it, let's see what it tastes like, and then really decide what taste I preferred. The mango one, hands down.
Oh, yeah.
You know, hands down.
And M&Ms, once you've recalibrated your taste buds, they taste waxy and fake.
Yeah, they are.
Yes, they are.
They are. So, I mean, you still eat chocolate. I love actually 100% raw chocolate. Just chocolate, the taste of it.
Like the cacao nibs, or like
cacao nibs or pieces, or yeah. It has a really, really nice bitter flavor to it. Put a little almond butter on it, and you got a delightful treat.
How are you on bitters? Like the drinks that they drink in South America and Europe?
Well, I don't know what they drink in South America and Europe because I haven't drunk those drinks, but bitters is something I recommend people do before they eat their meal. So the concept of putting something bitter under your tongue before a meal stimulates the digestive juices. We know that, right? So there's ways to do that. I recommend.
I didn't know that. That's a good one.
Really?
I'm going to tuck that away.
It stimulates, and that's what the bitters are for. That's what Swedish bitters, right? And it was a digestive aperitif to help you improve your digestion. So
yeah, the old guys would put that terrible tasting little bitter in some carbonation water and sip on that before their meals, and
Yep.
just what they did. I assume they snuck in some alcohol, but
They probably
no
did.
judgment here.
But there's a lot of ways you can do that. So you can take a piece of arugula and start chomping on it while you're making your meal, and it stimulates your digestive juices and makes you digest your proteins better. So there's all kinds of ways to do that. So bitters are great.
Arugula has the L-arginine in it. Is that right? And L-arginine turns into the nitric oxide?
Nitric oxide.
Okay, because for men's health, let's give the guys a tip here. What foods should men eat to put a little more air in the tire?
Yeah, so stimulating nitric oxide is super important. And again, it's not just for down there, it's for endothelial health. You know that? You do your carotid scans, right? People need endothelial health. And nitric oxide is important for that. So arugula is a great food for that. Anything's green, beet greens.
I thought it was the reds, like for the nitric oxide. Beets, pickled beets, like that's the highest concentration.
Beets are, yes, but the greens as well. Beet greens, arugula. Arugula is one of the highest sources of nitric oxide.
Huh.
I have a whole little recipe guide that I put together for a class I did last summer, and it's foods that increase your nitric oxide production. And they're fun foods. You know, there's just a lot of fun foods in there.
Would you be okay if I posted that or shared that with this podcast? Something like that?
I can give you a link.
Because, yeah, a lot of people are just trying to find the good food in the grocery store, and it's tough. Like fermented foods. The whole Italian antipasta is just stricken from our culture.
Fermented foods are phenomenal. We need it.
What are your favorites, and how does somebody start getting into that world?
Well, my favorite is actually yogurts, non-dairy yogurts. So I make yogurts out of coconut and hemp seeds and all kinds of nuts and seeds.
Hemp seed yogurt?
Yeah. Quite delicious.
You're exceeding expectations.
And sauerkraut and kimchi are phenomenal. And any kind of fermented veggies. We go to the farmer's market and they make fermented cauliflower, fermented beets, fermented daikon radish. Right? And they're phenomenal. And they're tasty and
they're tasty.
They're very tasty.
And you can't eat a ton of them, I don't think.
No, you can't. No, you just eat, it's one of those self-filling, you eat it, you feel good, and you move on. You don't overdo it.
And what magic is in fermentation? We know it has huge health benefits.
Well, it's the bacteria the good bacteria that grow in our gut that live along with our own cells, and they help produce all kinds of enzymes and digest your food, and so we need a balance. And if you look at every culture other than the westernized U.S., they have some sort of fermented food as part of it, right? In Russia, they're using yogurts, and in Germany, there's a lot of sauerkraut. And in Korea, kimchi. So every culture has their kind of favorite, and it preserves the food as well. So you can have a jar of fermented kimchi that's good for 6 months, a year. It doesn't go bad.
Right. And we're talking about fermentation. In my head, it was alcohol, but no, you're right. Cheeses are a curing fermentation process.
Yep.
The meats, cured meats, if they're done naturally without nitrates. Tell me about nitrates and how bad they are and why they're bad in curing meat. Are they?
That's not my area of expertise, but I will say that when we think about nitrates, we think about it's preserving, right? We're trying to preserve something. And is it really the best way to do it? They have the ability to ferment in the gut and damage the lining of the stomach. They're associated with stomach cancer, increased stomach cancer. There's a lot of bad things about nitrates, and I'm not an expert in it. And off the top of my head, I don't have those memorized. But,
right.
It's just not where we're going to want to go.
I gotcha. And like sugar is a preservative. I mean, bread should only last a day or two on the shelf. And now they put so much sugar in it that bread lasts for weeks on the shelf. And if you want good bread, if you're going to eat bread, try to get the stuff that goes stale fast, because that has 4 ingredients or less.
Right.
Fascinating. Yeah, talk to me more about foods that you love, because it seems like this world's getting bigger.
I love fresh foods. I love fermented foods. Sea vegetables. That's a craft that's gone by the wayside. People don't eat sea vegetables. They think of that as seaweed. Ooh, who wants to do that? That's slimy stuff.
There's more than
Loaded with
seaweed?
minerals. Yeah, there's loaded with kelp and nori and kombu and dulse and wakame and hijiki, and there's tons of them.
Wow. And like one of the hottest supplements right now is a seaweed, the Arterosil vascinox. It's a very specific seaweed that fortifies the glycocalyx, and I see great results from just that seaweed. It's yeah, that's a good little supplement. Fascinating.
And they're easy to eat, easy to add to
Yeah.
salads. Soups.
Do you get wet seaweed or dry to put in your salad?
Usually
Or how
get
do you do
dry.
it?
Usually dry. And then you rehydrate it, constitute it.
And here in the States, where would somebody get seaweed they trusted?
There's a number of companies. There's a company called Maine Coast Sea Vegetables that sells a lot of that stuff. There's Eden Organics has a lot of it. Mendocino Sea Vegetables. There's a number of companies. You don't want to get the ones that are coming from, China. Areas that have had, let's just say, radiation spills and things like that, because the sea vegetables
Gets in the food.
they soak it up. Yep, yeah.
Wow. I had another question about glyphosate and what that does to us and damage to the body, and why is that in our food supply, or what do you know about that? Because I've known way too many people that go to Europe and they talk about how they ate so much pasta and it felt great, and they come back and they get on the American pasta and they don't. Their gut just gets inflamed and hurtful. And when you talk to the professionals, they say, oh, that's not true. Their grain's the same here as in the States. But I don't believe it. Too many people have told me that story.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. And I just think that we use glyphosate as it's Roundup, right? It's a preservative, or not a pesticide,
Yeah.
an
And the
herbicide,
plants they
right?
grow have special to not be killed by it.
Not be killed by it, right? And so the amounts build up in it, and it's not meant for the human body to consume. Is it true about European wheat versus U.S. wheat? A lot of people are sensitive to wheat, and it doesn't matter where it's from. But I think that there's probably more of it in our U.S. supplies. But if you get it organic, if you get your grains organic and you get them from trusty sources, they don't put glyphosate in them.
No, they don't. And it's if you want glyphosate-free vegetables and wheat, you got to pay attention. I know there's farms in certain areas like Ohio and that'll send it directly to you, but you can get it at Whole Foods and pay a ton. Metabolic issues, or what do you think people need to hear in reflection of your career and what you see, and how can we help the most people?
So people need to understand, what do we mean by metabolic issues, first of all. And when we think about metabolism, right, the metabolism is how we take what's out there and make it part of us and turn it into energy and turn it into the most effective use of energy. When people are eating processed foods, they're causing the body to need a lot of insulin in order to break down or take the sugars and get them into the cells, right? So we get a lot of insulin resistance. So metabolic issues are rooted in insulin resistance. And we don't think about, a lot of people think about insulin resistance as it's pre-diabetes. So I don't have a problem with insulin. I don't have a problem with my metabolic health. My mother does, because she's a diabetic, or my uncle does, he's a diabetic. But in reality, 93% of the population is estimated to be metabolically dysfunctional. 93% of the population. That was
That's everyone.
It's everybody. Right?
That's more than 9 out of 10.
It's more than 9 out of 10. Yeah. Yeah.
That has
So
to
we
be
need
intentional.
To take control of it. We need to take control of it. We need to stop eating all the processed foods. We need to stop doing things that cause our insulin levels to go up. And it's not just food. There's more than food. There's pesticides. There's insulin resistance that occurs from damage to the receptors on cells. There's stress, cortisol. When cortisol levels go up, it causes blood sugar to be released, or sugars to be released stored from glycogen from the muscles. And we cause an influx of more insulin, and we cause more insulin resistance. I think everybody needs to be paying attention. Personally, it would be really good if everybody wore a glucose meter, a continuous glucose meter for somebody.
Yeah, that should be mandatory for everybody to understand their body at that level.
Yeah.
What you eat has an effect.
And it's huge, and it really, in my opinion, I've been doing this with people before the continuous glucose meters became widely available. I had people getting a little glucose pricks and pricking their fingers every 15 minutes after they ate, and so they could watch and see what effect the foods have on them, what combinations of foods make a difference. You know,
Combos.
Yeah, like if I eat a big bowl of pineapple by itself, my blood sugar is going to go sky high. If I eat that with a big salad and big bowl of vegetables or a green smoothie, it doesn't, because it's slowing down the absorption of the sugar. So teaching people what they can eat and in what combinations they can eat. And then the effects of stress. I call it the candy bar eating effect of stress, because we get a rise in our cortisol levels, which is a stress hormone, which causes sugars to be released from stores because we're getting ready to run away from tigers. We need extra sugar. And then we have this big rise in blood glucose, as if we just ate a candy bar, but we didn't have the fun of eating the candy bar. Right?
Yeah.
And then we have to do something to get rid of it, like run and jump and meditate or do other things to try to lower that down.
Okay. I'm going to do a restate on that because I think it's so profound, but correct me. Sugar and carbs, like, you can overeat sugar and carbs. It's hard to overeat protein because you only have so much bile to process. But sugar, your body can bank 10, 20,000 calories a day of sugar. But that comes at a horrible price. Because your little pancreas, this little organ in your, has to produce enough insulin to metabolize that. And it's about a teaspoon, and it's floating around. So if you spike your blood sugar, so you got extra sugar floating around, the body's going to send out the insulin to say, hey, store it, save it, do what you do, save it, right? But if your sugar's always high, that insulin's not effective because it's got more sugar that it can fight. And your cells are like, get used to it. Hey, there's more insulin around. That used to be like a tight signal to get to work, but now it's always on. So the body's crying wolf with too much sugar and insulin floating around, and your body just gets used to it, and it doesn't metabolize the sugar. You got extra sugar floating around, which is sticky, nasty stuff on the arteries. And then you got the extra insulin, which your body's learning to ignore. So you want to tune up to the insulin, and that's how you fix the metabolic issues, is you get the sugar out of the body so your body knows it's serious when it hears the insulin bell go off.
Right.
And that balance is where you want to live. And if you're always eating sugar, the balance is off, your mood is off, your everything goes. Is that about right?
Yeah, and it causes stiffening of the arteries. It causes the high levels of insulin. People don't realize that high levels of insulin actually stiffen the artery walls. So arteries are supposed to be flexible, right? Yeah, you're running after, a bus, and you get a big blood flood. You can't do that after a while because insulin stiffens the artery walls. And insulin,
I see that.
excess insulin is one of the leading cause of sudden death from heart attack. Just sudden cardiac arrest.
That's the leading cause?
Yep.
Not blood pressure or...
Insulin increases blood pressure. Why? Because it stiffens those artery walls. What happens when the artery walls are stiffer? The blood pressure is higher, right?
I hadn't heard that yet. Because I see with my ultrasound, I see the artery flexing, and I show people that, like, that's good, flexible. I'm close to quantifying it, but people want to see it. Too much insulin stiffens. That's got to be true. Huh. Wow. Okay, so too much sugar, insulin floating around, and the easiest way, your liver will get fat. You'll get fatty liver,
fatty
and we
liver.
can't tell if it's an alcoholic fatty liver or a corn syrup fatty liver. Like, it's just not well identified, and it's hard to get rid of it once it's in your liver. Is that true?
Yes and no. I mean, I've seen people reverse fatty liver in a matter of months when they're strict.
Wow.
And they keep their blood sugars under control. I've seen people reverse diabetes in a matter of weeks when they're strict.
Wow.
And they follow along. Not everybody, but a lot of people.
How angry does it make you that the FDA on their diabetes recipes has sugar in their diabetes recipes?
It's ignorance. It makes me very angry. And
Like, inside job level mayhem there, right?
yeah, and that's why I do what I do, and that's why I'm so dedicated to teaching practitioners. Like, all this stuff you learned in medical school about handling diabetes and handling fatty liver and handling autoimmune disease is all wrong. You're missing most of the picture.
That's crazy talk. That's like saying the food pyramid's wrong. The food pyramid we had as a kid.
Okay.
It would have to be at that level.
It is. And, it's amazing, though, when people come out, they come from medical school or whatever, they go through our program and they start to learn this stuff, they go, oh, my God. They think about all the people they've hurt in their attempt to help because they've been given them wrong advice.
Yeah, that would be the most regrettable part, because these healers really want to heal. They are
Help people.
the purest souls you can find, and when they found out that they were not, that crushes them. That crushes them. Dr. Rita Marie, patients, are you looking for patients, or are you part of a clinic? Because you're bringing good to the world. How can I help you get more out?
I don't work in a clinic. I'm on my own. I do online work. I have group programs to help people like we have one coming, Sweet Spot Solution Program, where people can join, and we're going to empower you to take charge of your own metabolic health, to learn what to eat, what not to eat, what supplements to take, how to exercise, how to sleep right, all those things. So we empower people that way. I have practitioners who I've trained, who've gone through my certification program, and they can work with people one-on-one and run labs and do all the functional medicine type things.
Oh, beautiful. So you have preceptors.
I guess
You got
could
people that
call
do it the way.
Yeah.
Are they on a website and they can find, excellent, this is what I'm looking for?
Yeah. You can just go to the
Events.
website.
And your website's great. You got a hormone, immune, metabolic, adrenal fatigue, insulin resistance. Just because when you're realizing it as a problem, it's tough to figure out how big of a scope it affects your world.
Right. And that's what we're there to do, to help people figure it out. Because if you're inside this body and it's not working properly, it's hard for you to know what's going on, right? And when you go to the conventional Western medicine type practice, it's like, okay, what are your symptoms? Okay, here's a drug for this symptom, here's a drug for this symptom. It's not really looking at what's tying all this together. And how can we empower each individual person to take charge of their health? Because that's where it lies. I think the future of health is empowered self-care. You learn how your body works, you learn how to take care of it yourself, and you're empowered to take charge of whatever goes on. Yes, you need Western medicine if you fall off a roof. Yes, you have broken bones,
Yep.
There's emergency care. We need Western medicine.
Yeah, we're really good at patching people back together.
Right, but that's not what's needed most of the time, right? You've heard the expression, if the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. That's the way medicine practices. And it's a sledgehammer, boom, and somebody just needs a little tiny tap, but they're getting a sledgehammer because that's what Western medicine has to offer.
Yeah.
And that's what we're
When I
trying
got
to
my MBA, I was trying to figure out why prevention's just not in the business model for insurance companies. And it never will be, because the average CEO of a health insurance company is there for 5 years, 3 to 5 years. But to get a return on investment on prevention, it's at least 7 years. And those guys get paid out on immediate turnaround. And So it's just not, prevention is not built into the system. And if you want to live better, that's on you. It's 100% on you.
Yes, yes. And it's much easier to prevent something than it is to cure it.
Agreed.
Cure is it's a word that doesn't really mean anything. There is no such thing as a cure. But yeah, if you want to be healthy, you have to prevent your body from deteriorating. And that's all on you. And that's how we teach people how to take charge.
Love it. Thank you for this conversation, Dr. Rita Marie.
You're very welcome. Absolutely. Thank you for asking the questions.
Oh, I love it. I got a new friend. We got some new resources, because it's the only way through this is community and people making friends and finding out who to trust, who's got good info. The only way through is together. I'm pumped.
Absolutely. Community
All right.
makes a difference.
I'll end it here, but be in touch. I'd love to come visit and scan your patients in Costa Rica sometime, or wherever. But yeah, our fates will.
One of your folks come to Austin a couple of weeks ago, and right before I left. And scanned
Yeah. That's when you got on the podcast. He told me about your clinic and what you're doing, and it's like, I got to hear from this gal. All right, thank you, Dr.